After a couple of weeks spent on the streets, the Indy cars are headed back to an oval. Actually, it's the mile-and-a-half tri-oval of Kentucky Speedway. Now we're going to hear how the drivers weigh in on racing once again in the Bluegrass State. This is Up to Speed.
There are some spots in Kentucky that are a little bumpy. Sometimes, I mean, second lane up in 1 and 2 is a little bit more rough and things like that. But I mean, it's not too bad. We go to some tracks that are really, really rough. It's just that, you know, when you're working on these ovals that, you know, you're doing 220 the whole time, you know, these little movements are, you know, it's hard to fix, and, you know, you sometimes tip it over the edge somewhere else. So, you know, it's just another element to deal with, and it's another spot where, you know, if you are running with a strong team and you hit it and you get it right, then you have an advantage.
The biggest thing is picking the correct visor, which basically for us in essence is a pair of sunglasses and what shade do you want, and so that you know, that's kind of the trick there. But you know, I really enjoyed Kentucky. I had a lot of fun at that track last year, so I mean, I think we'll be very competitive, so I'm looking forward to that. But as far as it being a night race, it seems like the IndyCar Series nowadays, we've got a lot of night races, and you know, to add that one, I think it will make it exciting. It's quite bumpy, so there'll be a lot of sparks, and for the fans, that always makes it interesting.
Kentucky is very difficult and bumpy as well. It's one of the ovals that when you go around the corners, they're kind of difficult because they're flat, but at the same time there is a little bit of banking as well. It's kind of like hard to predict and how to read, but now going at night certainly is going to create even more challenge. It's going to give everybody a little bit more downforce because it's cool air. So definitely it's going to create more competition, and we really hope that we have a good car there. But last year we ran out of fuel 300 yards from the finish line. But this year hopefully we have plenty of fuel to finish.
Here comes Dixon to the high side. He's going to get past Elio Castroneves, and Dixon will win it as Elio is on fumes at the finish. Elio Castroneves winds up second for the 7th time in 2008.
Kentucky's another tough one. You know, it's a car that relies a lot more. For a mile and a half, it relies a lot of handling because it's quite bumpy, it's tight, but it has got some grippy parts to it. So, you know, for me, I've had great runs at Kentucky even from day one, but you know, last year to come through with that was you know, a tremendous amount of fun. But to, you know, be on the good side of the receiving end, I think, you know, on a fuel race, considering it almost came down to what we had in Chicago, end of 2007 with Dario for the championship. With Elio and myself, they definitely played it up with, you know, a different strategy, and you know, you could just see him coming. I'm like, oh, I don't think we're gonna have enough, and then sure enough, he must have just run out in turn 4, and we passed him going to the start finish. It was really cool.
As usual, you can stay connected to all the action from Kentucky Speedway all weekend long on Versus and IndyCar.com. Speaking of IndyCar.com, it is time once again for your fantasy racing picks. Unfortunately for this week, our fantasy racing insider can't be here because he's on assignment, but don't worry, he's called in his picks to me because frankly, he needs the points. First up on Arnie's list is Scott Dixon, who's our current points leader and last year's race winner, and who has had 7 top 5 finishes in a row. He's also going with Dan Weldon, who's looking to turn around a disappointing July now that we're back on an oval, Rafael Matos, who's looking for the result he deserves, as well as a couple of second-generation drivers, Graham Rahal and Marco Andretti. In the Firestone Indy Lights Series, Arnie's picking Wade Cunningham, who's had 3 podium finishes in only 3 starts at Kentucky Speedway, as well as Anna Beatrice and J.R. Hildebrand. All right, thanks again for the insight, Arnie. My picks are going to be Elio Castroneves, both Target Chip Ganassi cars, Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti, and a couple from AGR, Danica Patrick and Tony Kanaan, who are both going to be looking to help their team turn their luck around. In the Firestone Indy Lights Series, I like J.R. Hildebrand, Anna Beatrice, and James Davison. That's it for us. Good luck with your fantasy racing picks, and as usual, for everything from Kentucky Speedway this weekend, keep it right here on IndyCar.com. I'm Lauren Bolander, and you're Up to Speed.